I can only say that I know a lot of those people in the Secret Service, and they were good and they were forceful. I think that there's always room for improvement, right? And he got into the building. The problem is I know that's what I do. I build buildings like that. You know, when you have 1,000 rooms sitting on top of a ballroom, and you have the elevators coming down right near the entrance, it's a pretty tough situation.
While President Trump is defending his Secret Service after another assassination attempt, House Homeland Security Committee member Carlos Gimenez is demanding answers. He says the incident raises similar security concerns as with Butler, Pennsylvania, at that rally where President Trump was shot. Florida Congressman Carlos Gimenez joins us now. Congressman, thank you so much for continuing to insist on answers on this. I believe the president deserves gold-plated security after everything he's gone through. What are your thoughts on what happened, especially in light of Butler, which I know you were involved with that investigation?
Well, I mean, what I've seen on this particular incident is that this gunman was just one doorway away from getting to the president and to getting to thousands of people. I'm also concerned a little bit about, I believe that the director of the Secret Service said he wouldn't change anything. Well, what if there had been 2 of them? What if there had been 4 of them? Look, the perimeter is that perimeter is way, way too lax, and the ability of that one gunman to almost make it, you know, assures me that, yeah, changes needed to be made. And maybe you shouldn't hold these kinds of events there with the president at that venue if it's impossible to secure the president of the United States.
Yeah, I'm still not satisfied with the answers from Butler. I don't know why he was cremated so quickly before the head of that committee in Congress could see the body. I still don't understand why that young man had so many phones. But we need to get to the bottom of all of it, including the lapses, because, as I said, I think the president deserves better than what he did get that night. I want to move to this because I know that the issue of socialism and communism is very important to you. You're somebody with roots in Cuba. You understand what communism does to people, to countries, and yet look at this poll. This is on young voters' views on socialism. The question was, do you think it's a good or bad for the U.S. to move away from capitalism and towards socialism? And for voters under the age of 30, 53% said it would be a good thing. Congressman, I think this is all about indoctrination at the school level. What do you make of this? Why is this happening?
I think you're absolutely 100% right. I think the left has made a concerted effort to put their views into the schools and indoctrinate our children. Look, the only people that really like communism and socialism are the people who never lived in it. Yeah. You know, I find it. Yeah, when I talk to ambassadors from Eastern Europe that were part of the Soviet bloc before, they are fervent anti-communists. They understand what this system does to them as a people, how it oppresses them. And basically, look, the one promise of communism is everybody will be the same. Yes, everybody is the same. You're all equally miserable, all right? Yes. And your quality of life, and you're oppressed, and the repression of freedom of expression, and you got political prisoners. I mean, anybody who'd want to live under that system has never lived under that system. Yes. And then all these promises of, you know, hey, everything's going to be great. We're all going to be the same. Yeah, you're all going to be miserable. That's what happened. That's what's happening in Cuba right now. Everybody's miserable. Everybody's miserable.
And another place where people were miserable and maybe continue to be miserable, because I'm hearing reports that many are still, you know, in situations of hunger in Venezuela, and that is something that happened in real time. We saw that decrease from the most prosperous country in Latin America over a 20-year period to the poorest in the hemisphere. We just saw this week, Congressman, that flights have resumed to Venezuela after 7 years. What are your thoughts on both the idea of the flights resuming and also the situation in Venezuela right now?
Well, the flight resuming, that's okay, but the situation in Venezuela is that we still have an interim dictator there. Remnants, well, the regime is still there. We just took out Maduro. And we need to move to a democracy. We need to move away from this regime. This regime is not a friend of the United States. They're just biding their time until we get a new administration and then go right back to what they were doing. By the way, they're still repressing their people, and they're still political prisoners in Venezuela. We need to move faster. I've called on that. And make no mistake, Delcy Rodriguez is not great. She's not a friend of the United States. She hates the United States, but she's smart enough to know, hey, if I just wait it out, maybe I can survive. And that's what these regimes want to do. They just want to survive.
Congressman Carlos Gimenez, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
You got it.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.